everybody, Kelly here. Thank you so much for joining me today. This video is going to look a little different than most, and that'll be okay because this video is where I want to sit here and talk to you about my future plans. I've been dropping, at this point, not so subtle hints about kind of what I want to be up to next, and I figured I should just kind of talk about it and kind of let you guys see where I am at. So the first thing some of you may have picked up on, I've been dropping hints for a while, even when I was doing strictly planner content. And now that I'm switching to more vlogs and teacher content, I was a little less subtle about it. But one of the things that you will likely see that I have been doing is talking about studying for the LSAT. The main reason why I want to take the LSAT is pretty simple. I want to switch careers. I want to, oddly enough, switch to a career as a lawyer in some capacity. It was something that I was always really interested in growing up. It was something that for the longest time I really wanted to do, but it was also something that I never thought that I would be like smart enough. It was, to me, law school was the thing that all the really smart kids get to do. And I'm like, not that I ever thought I wasn't smart, but I didn't think I was smart enough for that. And thankfully I found a career in which I am very passionate about and I love doing, and I'll talk about more of why I want to leave education in a little bit. But one of the things is I feel like a lot of the skills that I've learned as a teacher will be easily transferable into law. I have a friend who actually did the opposite of what I'm doing. She started off her career as an attorney for a while and then switched to education. And she said, like, a lot of the skills that you learn as a teacher really transfer very well into law. And so I wanted to kind of give this a shot. Law is a field that I've learned from watching a lot of lawyers on YouTube that while yes, lawyers kind of specialize in something, there's a specific area of law that they practice, there's still flexibility, and unfortunately in education there isn't much. And there's a lot that you can do with a law degree even if you don't actually practice law. So there are just a lot of options that are out there for me. So for me, after spending a lot of time on YouTube watching lawyers, or as they call themselves, LawTube, after spending all of this time doing that, after watching cases, after hearing a comment from one of these lawyers who made the comment that during closing argument that you have to take really complex topics and break them down, you know, a teacher would be really good at that. And it just kind of clicked for me. And that's when I started to look into it. I started to talk to my friend. I started to talk to other people that I know that have gone to law school, or they have a relative or a sibling of some sort that have gone to law school. And I just decided that it seemed like a good fit for me. So now let's talk about me studying for the LSAT. This and my undergrad GPA are the parts that freak me out the most. I do know that at this point, I don't really have any control over my undergrad GPA. So there's not a whole lot I can do. And not that my undergrad GPA was horrible, but it also wasn't great. Again, it's not something that I would think would get me into law school. So I'm really aiming to do very well, or as well as I can, on the LSAT. Back over the summer, I took a practice LSAT just to kind of see where I was at with no practice. Like, other than me learning a little bit about the LSAT in terms of like, these are the 4 sections and this is how much time you have, I really just went into this as blind as I could be. From my understanding, the LSAT goes from, I think it's a 120 to a 180. And I scored a 150, which my friend said for somebody who has no experience, like that's a pretty solid score. So she said the good thing about the LSAT is that it is a very learnable test. So what I did was I looked at all the schools I want to go to, which I'll talk about in a little bit, looked at all of their LSAT, their average LSAT scores, and said I would feel comfortable aiming for a 160. So to me, a 160, I mean, it's not a 180. And it's obviously not in the 170s, but it is definitely higher than the average for the schools that I want to attend. And I think that it would give me a good shot at getting into law school. I have been studying a lot, and I think that once I'm done taking the actual LSAT and I have a score and I know where I'm at, I think I can speak on this part better. But I will give you kind of a hint as to what I've been doing to prepare, and kind of what I've learned as I'm still in the midst of preparing. I did just pay for my LSAT today, so I will be taking it in January of 2024. So let's talk about some study materials. Even though I am a teacher, it's not like I have a lot of extra money. So I've just been doing a lot of self-studying. The good thing is I think the LSAT is a test that you can do a lot of self-studying for. And I just want to talk about some of the resources that I've been using and which ones I like. So let's start with these books. These are the Power Score books. This one that I have right here is the LSAT Reading Comprehension Bible. They have one for reading comprehension, logic games, and the logical reasoning. Right now, as you can tell, I'm focusing on the reading comprehension, but these books are not cheap. And that's another thing I've learned. It is hard to study for the LSAT on a budget. So what I did was all of my local libraries, they have a lot of the books that I need. So what I just decided to do was borrow these from the library. One of the things, and I don't know if it's in this book or if it's it is in this book, is obviously I'm not going to write in it, but I've just been using sticky notes. I have a ton of sticky notes from finishing up my master's degree. So I've just been using sticky notes instead of writing in these because these are obviously not mine. So I'm really liking the Power Score. They seem to be pretty solid, and they seem to be giving me a pretty good understanding of the different sections. For certain things, maybe their strategies don't necessarily work the best for me, but I also think that it is good to see what strategies work best. And for me, some of the strategies in here aren't the best for me. They don't necessarily make the most sense. And then for other strategies, they do. So I am really liking this book. When I'm ready to go and continue with some of the other sections in more detail, I'm going to go borrow the logic games and the logical reasoning. The next book I have is a book that a lot of people say is one of the best out there. It is one of the most comprehensive. It is a good book to have. And library had it because, again, these books are not cheap. And that is this one, the LSAT Trainer. It definitely helps me out with, again, certain areas and how to, in this one in particular, really how to eliminate certain answer choices. So I've really liked this book for that reason. And again, I've just been looking at it, but one of the things that has worked the best for me is just practice, and then go back and reflect. I like the book, but again, we'll see what my score ends up being. The last two books that I got, and then I'll go to what I think is the most valuable resource I've used, were the Princeton review. I have a friend who actually gave me this one, so I've been using this one. This one I've been able to mark up and really practice with. And then this is from Kaplan. So these are both from 2 test prep services. And again, they're good. For me, they're really helping me just with strategies that seem to work the best for, I guess, my brain and how I'm thinking about things and what kind of processes help me the most. To me, the resource that has been the most beneficial are these books right here. These are actual released LSAT tests. This one only has 3. It was obviously pretty cheap. It wasn't that crazy, but this one only had 3 practice tests. This one is a little bit of everything. It has some practice tests, and it also just kind of goes through certain strategies. And so I've liked this one, and I believe this one did have a test, a release test. But now that I'm looking at it, oh no, it does. This one does have a release test. So this one has at least 1, and then this one is a set of 10 LSAT tests. So what I've been doing is every single day I have been practicing something. I'll try to focus on an area each day and work on it, practice it, and do some questions and just kind of take my time with them. Go back, look at the questions that I got wrong, really figure out why I got them wrong, and then kind of work my way and think about that correct answer. Then the following day, I have been taking a section timed. So for example, last night, I spent some time, I think I went through 2 or 3 like reading comprehension passages. Ironically, it's the part I hate the most. And then, just took my time, really used that time to go back into the text, go back and forth. And then once I'm done shooting this video, I will take a full reading comprehension section timed, because time is a huge factor. If time were not a factor, I could probably ace this test. I could probably get it to the high 170s, because the good thing is that my accuracy is going up. I just need to focus on speed at this point. And then every week, every Sunday, I have been taking a practice LSAT, full practice LSAT. And I think over winter break, I will be taking more practice LSATs. So that is where I am. I will likely buy 1 more of these books before I take the LSAT. But to me, these are hands down the most beneficial books that I have found so far. Now, if my score comes back and I don't like it, I might have a different take. But as of right now, this is what I'm really, really using. Just practice, practice, practice. What do I plan on doing? Where do I plan on going to school? And how do I plan on doing this? Because I am a 35-year-old adult who has a full-time job and a house. Thankfully, one of the things that I think has come from COVID and just technology in general are online schools. And I'm always a little leery of online schools. However, if they do come from an actual university that I know about, I'm much more likely to trust them. For me, I got my master's degree fully online through Texas Tech. And, it was a good program. Definitely some areas for improvement, but it was overall a good program. So some law schools are starting to open up online versions of their law schools. I've been looking at a lot. There are about 11 on my list right now, although I don't plan on applying to all 11. There are 4 main ones that I plan on applying to. There are 2 here in Texas. One is in San Antonio and one is in Houston. Then there is the University of Dayton. Is it Dayton University? University of Dayton? One of the 2. I can't remember. And then the school that I really want to get into is the University of Hawaii. They have a very social social justice minded program, which is perfect for what I want to go into and the areas of law that I want to practice and just how I see the world. So that's the school I really want to get into. But if I can get into any of the other 3 schools, I'll just be happy that I can get into law school. Now you might be asking, why now? Why would I do this now? Honestly, education, it's hard right now, and I don't see it getting any better. Because I've been teaching long enough, I'm about to have my undergrad loans fully forgiven. So as a result, a huge chunk of my student loans will be gone, hopefully once my PSLF has been processed and they approve it. So thankfully, it looks like I'm in a good spot to only have a little bit of college debt from my master's degree, and then I can tackle this beast of a law school student loan. Let's talk about education, why I want to leave education, and kind of what's going on right there. So, first things first, I love teaching. I really do. I think teaching is a wonderful career. I think it is a career that is necessary to have good quality teachers who care. And at the same time, the pay is horrible. I shouldn't say horrible. The pay is not good though. The pay is absolutely not good. And there's just a lot going on. Public schools as a whole right now are very much being politicized, and I don't like that. You see things we saw a lot of it with COVID and opening schools and mask mandates and things along those lines. But then at the same time, all of a sudden, you see all of these people terrified of critical race theory. And oh my God, we're teaching critical race theory in classrooms. And guess what? We're not. However, the concepts behind critical race theory are very much embedded in everyday life. And even if I'm not explicitly teaching it, my students are picking up on concepts that relate to critical race theory anyway. But I digress. So you have that. You have this fear of critical race theory. You have this fear of we're indoctrinating students. We're not. If I could brainwash students into doing anything, and I've seen this meme all over social media, it would be to pay attention and do their work and come to class prepared. I'm not trying to turn a child into like a furry, wherever that came from. There's a lot of there's a lot of uproar about teachers supporting LGBTQ plus students, and that is something that I will always do, and I don't care what the state says. I will always create a safe space for my students where they can be who they are, whether that be however they identify. I've had many students lots of students identify as gay or lesbian or bisexual. We're definitely seeing some students be more and more comfortable with talking about being non-binary or being trans and using their pronouns and avoiding use of their dead name and things along those lines. So, to me, it's just treating someone with human decency, and I don't see it being a political thing. Also, the hometown where I'm from, they banned pride flags around the schools. Let me go back. They have banned anything unless it is a sporting event, the American flag, or the school flag. And I think they're allowing military flags. That's it. So they're supporting, football, but not anything else. And the big reason why they were doing this was really just to ban teachers who have like little pride flags in the window to let students know that this is a safe space. So as a result, I mean, I made an uproar. I reached out to every school board member and the superintendent, made them all hear my say, and got some of my classmates to do just the same as well. But these are all reasons why I don't want to be in education that much more. Book bans. Don't even get me started on book bans. Like, I want nothing to do with a book ban, and I don't plan on engaging in, like, not giving students access to books that are age appropriate, to say the least. At the same time, while there might be a book or two that has gotten onto a teacher's shelves because they maybe didn't realize or didn't catch some of the content in it, I don't think that the vast majority of educators want to put books on their shelves that are not age appropriate for students. And I have an issue with it, and it's hard for me. The other reason is just the state of education as a whole and kind of the way in which things are going in our society. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of apathy from students. I'm not trained in how to help these students. And it's like screaming into the void to try to get things to help students. For a variety of reasons, students are just becoming more and more apathetic, and it's hard. It's hard to get somebody who's apathetic to want to do anything. And, while I understand that there are many students with mental health issues and that are going through things and they're having a hard time at home, and those I can absolutely help a student with and work with them and be understanding. I do think that in some ways our educational system has very much failed very much an entire generation. And what I mean by that is students have been able, like in my school district, students have been able to get away with pretty much anything. They've been able to get away with just not doing their work, and the teacher will just give them an A. They've been able to, be on their phones the entire time. They've been able to talk while the teacher is talking and not really care. And to me, those are things that go beyond mental health issues, right? A lot of those things are just learned behaviors that we as a society have let students do. And it's hard to deal with that. And on top of that, you have a lot of high stakes testing. There's a lot of micromanagement from from administration, which I've talked about on some of my vlogs. And it's a lot. And I just don't think that things are going to get better until they get worse, unfortunately. One of the things that, and if you're still watching this and still hanging in there with me, thank you so much. But one of the things and one of my theories is a lot of this is stemming to this idea of everything in school needs to be fun and engaging, and everything needs to basically be like a party, right? It needs to be that level of engagement. And especially younger grades, those are things that are age appropriate. But we also need to teach students how to persevere through things, even if they don't want to learn them, which sounds a little harsh. But I was listening to this podcast called Sold a Story. And if you are an educator, or if you really are interested in elementary education or reading education, this is a great podcast to listen to, because one of the things that they talk about is how a lot of schools have switched modes of teaching how to read. And one of the things that a lot of schools have gone away from are teaching the basics of things such as phonics. And a lot of it is because they were like, oh, well, kids found it boring, which I agree. It's not the most fun thing in the world, but you can still find other ways to engage students and still teach them phonics. I think that when a student still has to learn something that might not be the most fun, it teaches a form of kind of like resiliency that I think a lot of students right now are unfortunately lacking in. And so the minute something gets hard, or the minute they don't want to learn something, they just tune out. Well, I don't want to learn it. Well, I don't like this teacher. And I think that we are really kind of raising, unfortunately, a system of students who aren't going to have that resiliency. And I think that we as a society are doing a huge disservice. And then because there is no resiliency, we see a lot of behavioral issues. And because we see a lot of behavioral issues and schools and administrators aren't doing much about it, I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see a generation where, because they have been able to get away with so much, they've never been taught this resiliency or this form of just kind of sitting there and just getting through it. We're going to see a lot of issues. And I don't mean that as a dig to this generation of students, because if this is what you've been taught, this is what you've been taught. It's like my generation. We were literally all told the only way you'll ever be anything in life is if you go and get a college education. Just take out all the loans. It's fine. And then we realized, oh, we've taken out tons of loans. Now we have to pay them all back. But this is what the other generation has taught us. So I think we see various things with generations. I just fear that we are going to see this current generation not have that ability to learn even when something isn't the most fun. And makes me a little nervous, and I don't want to burn out. I don't want to lose my love of teaching. And I just think that switching careers to something that will be something that gives me more flexibility than education will be a really good and strong option for me. With that being said, that is what I am up to right now. I'd be more than happy to go into some more detail about some of these things. I definitely would like to do a video specifically more about what I feel the state of education is in. Once I take the LSAT, I have no problem going over and talking about the resources that I definitely know are good and helped me, and the ones that I think you could avoid. And cross your fingers, if I get into law school, I will definitely make sure that y'all know and hopefully y'all see. So if you want to join me as I make this transition from a teacher to hopefully a lawyer, please be sure to like this video and subscribe down below. If you've stuck with me this whole time, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will be back next Saturday with a new video. I will have a vlog. That's it, guys. Like I said, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today and joining me in this face-to-face conversation video. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Throw your things away tonight. We'll go a different way, you and me.